Alex at Coram Farm, and we have Lisianthus. Look at what is blooming right now. We want to talk in this video all about growing Lisianthus. This is our second year, so we're by no means experts, but we have now grown Lisies in the field and in the tunnel. We love them. They sell well for us. We've grown them well now 2 years in a row. So I think it'd be good to talk about all things Lisianthus, how we grow them, what we do, talk about the varieties we grow, and maybe some of the things I've noticed and learned. And I'm going to change next year as we continue to really love profitable Lisianthus on our farm. We're a year 3 Oklahoma flower farm that sells retail market bouquets from our roadside stand. Last year we did not have a tunnel, so we grew Lisies for the first time in the field, and they did really well, especially for field Lisies. The stems were long enough in the varieties that we chose, and our customers absolutely loved them.
Not this long.
Well, so now this is why. When we got a tunnel in year 3, and these Lisianthus look entirely different than...
I can't even get down low enough.
I know. Well, here, let's do this. Here, back up a little bit. I am 5'8", to give you a reference point, so I am not a short lady. And this is the top of our Lisianthus. So what is that, like 3 feet almost?
Yeah, they're tall.
2.5 feet. I would say at least a third taller than the field Lisies. The field Lisies were long enough to put in a wrap. They were sufficient, but when you can grow a really long stem, that's wonderful for florists, but it's also just so nice to be able to work with a really long stem to make a beautiful bouquet. So let's talk about growing Lisies. We plant them from plugs. I pretty much choose to buy plugs now almost exclusively for our farm. We have lots of videos talking about all of that, but especially Lisianthus, I am not starting this seed in January, babying it for 3 months and then planting it out. This is like 100% an easy plug choice. For us in Zone 7A, Oklahoma, I planted these at the end of March. And they're blooming, they started blooming last week. So end of March planting where it's still a little bit cool, it's not too hot yet, and then they can handle the heat of our tunnel so far. Lisianthus comes in 3 groups, and it's a bit different from snapdragons where their grouping deals more with their cold and heat sensitivity. The grouping for Lisies deal more with the staggered bloom time that they have. And so we take August off, so I didn't want any Lisies blooming in August, so I didn't plant any group 3. These are all group 1 and 2, but I thought first, because this is the exciting fun part, we'd walk all the way down the row and I tell you the varieties that we're growing, the pros and cons of them that I've noticed, and then I'll go through and tell you all the steps we took to grow them in what I think is really well and beautiful. So this first section, which is the biggest section, is the Echo series. It's group 1. Echo mix. If you know me, you know I tend to kind of like to go for the mixes because I like to experience a lot of the different colors. In the mix, there is 5 colors. I think this mix ended up being very balanced, and so I'm getting a lot of the different colors. And we did 2 trays of them, so that's why it's the biggest group. Echo is what we grew in the field last year, and it did wonderfully. So if you don't have a tunnel, you only have a field or a low tunnel option, Echo performed really well in the field. It wasn't too short, it was long enough for a wrap, so I would really recommend Echo. It's the first one to bloom really for us in group 1. And again, insanely tall. So I like Echo. One thing, let me add this. One thing I noticed, and I'll show you an example when we get down to the next varieties, is with Echo, another reason I love them is they tend to branch more than some of the other varieties. I have some other varieties and they'll send up one beautiful long stem with lots of buds, but it's one clean cut. Whereas Echo...
Hold on, what we got was terrible film out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, that was terrible filmography. I was trying to find one and I was just drifting.
It's just, no, I was gonna show you.
I wanted to find an example. Yeah,
so obviously like a primo Lizzie is where you get one stem and you get like 5, 6, 7 blooms and it's super chunky and beautiful in a vase. definitely we have those, we cut them. But because Lizzie's are so expensive, it's kind of fun if you get, even if they're a bit smaller, you can get a couple cuts off of one plug and then sell more and get a little bit more for your money. So let me show you an example. This one, this giant white one, I could come all the way down here and cut this like 2 foot tall, and I'd have all of these blooms. But if I wanted, for especially for a retail, I could cut here. I could cut the middle one and have a beautiful long enough stem for a wrap with 3 buds open and some to open in the future. But I also could get a side cut here and a side cut here. So 3 cuts could come off of this one Lizzie. Whereas some of the other varieties I'll show you, they don't give me that kind of branching. And for retail, I like that option because I can get these to stretch farther for me. I might price them differently and grade them a bit differently when I'm making the bouquet recipe itself, but just having more stems on an expensive plug that took you a while to grow, it's just going to give you more value. So Echo will 100% be grown on our farm in the future. The next variety is another group 1, and it's called ABC is the variety. The color is Misty Blue, and you might ask, where are they? It's because they were technically the first to bloom out of my group, and I cut insanely hard on them. You can see how deep I went, almost right to the fabric, and it looked like this. Well, I'll put a picture on the screen because I got some beautiful pictures of Misty Blue. I loved it. I love that it all kind of came before the other ones, so we had a big focus in our bouquets on Misty Blue, but it only gave 1 stem. It did not branch like Echo. I liked it. I don't know for sure if we'll grow it again. I probably would just pick maybe another Echo purple to grow, but it worked really well for us. I mean, if you look at a percentage, we have like 95% was harvested, which is a really great number for plugs. This next variety is another ABC variety, a different color, and it is Rose. It's really beautiful. This is the one I'm cutting hardest on right now, so that's why it looks spotty. It's because I've just been cutting really hard on it. Beautiful, really tall stems, but let me show you an example of how they don't branch. We got a big storm last night, so they're leaning a little bit, but like, let's look at this one right here. They're crossing. So this one's beautiful. We have 3 buds. We have a bud that might open for people, but if you look here, this is the stem. So when I cut, I'm gonna cut down at the fabric and I get 1 stem to use. It's beautiful, it's great. It'll go in a bouquet nicely. Same with this guy, but there's no side branching like I showed you with Echo. So I just feel like I'm getting less stems for the same plug price with this ABC variety, I've noticed. One thing I forgot to add, I mentioned that you have group 1, group 2, and group 3 with staggered bloom time. I don't know if I just got it wrong because I'm pretty sure I read that you can plant them at the same time, but they'll still bloom staggered, and that's what I did. We planted these all one day together. The kids helped me. And this is a group 2 that I showed you that I'm cutting on, and I'm actually cutting on it harder than I'm cutting on Echo, which is group 1. So basically they're all kind of blooming together-ish, which is not what I wanted. I wanted more of like a month of Lizzie's rather than 2 weeks, but it also just might be an Oklahoma thing because in Oklahoma, we just tend to do everything, I feel, so much faster. Our tulips are faster, our ranunculus are faster. Maybe our Lizzie's are just gonna be faster. So I've got group 1 and group 2 going at the same time. 2 more varieties, they're both group 2. Now I am experiencing a little bit of a stagger because the next 2 are group 2 and I'm not cutting on them yet. So maybe I have like a week stagger instead of the couple weeks I was hoping for. But this next variety is a new series. It is Voyage. So I've done Echo and ABC. This is Voyage. Voyage is new to us. And if you notice the shape difference, Voyage is ruffly and almost like a double. So it looks very frilly, like a little girl's tutu dress or something. It's a more pale color than I would typically grow for retail, but the form and shape is very different from the other Lizzies. And so I think by the time they go in our customers' bouquets, it'll be like, look at this difference. Like, look how exciting. So I'm liking it. I want to go look and see what other colors I have as an option for Voyage and maybe pick a darker color for next year. But I'm really liking the shape. I think the ruffle just really unique and different from Echo and ABC. And lastly, so if you've been counting, this is my 6th tray. I bought 2 boxes of plugs. That's 6 trays. This is group 2. This is another ABC. So the pink one was an ABC. This is ABC Blue Rim. My customers tend to like really dark or saturated things and also kind of funky. And so I thought this one definitely fit the bill because it looks like you took a white rose and dipped it in purple paint. It almost looks artificial in how saturated the purple tips are on some of these. And I think it's at least going to catch their eye in our marketing pictures and be really interesting and have people say like, what is this? Did you paint your flowers? Sort of thing. Again, it's also staggering a bit in that I'm not harvesting on it yet. So hopefully these will take us into July, and I can also hold them in the cooler. We'll talk about that in a minute. I can hold them in the cooler, and my hope is like to get these Lizzies to like mid-July.
Okay, so are you going to give everybody details on how to care for them, when to harvest?
Yes. Okay, so how did we do this? Because I feel a little more confident now that we've done it 2 years in a row, and the first year wasn't like a total flip. Eric has to weed. You guys, Eric is weeding and filming at the same time. He cannot.
Am I staying in focus?
I don't know.
I hate imposters.
The man cannot allow a weed in his tunnel.
There's so many of them though.
I just look at the pretty flowers and he notices the imposters.
The non-flower.
I know. Can I drop it on the ground?
Toss it out the window.
Okay. Just
say, get
out of here. That was a terrible toss, but ooh, it smelled interesting.
It's Johnson grass season here on the farm. Are we gonna talk about growing Johnson grass? It grows really well.
We're a Johnson grass farm. We're actually really good. They like the landscape fabric holes. They love being irrigated, let me tell you. So look at this, gross.
Ooh.
Look at that. We're gonna talk about imposters. Look at him.
He's munching.
That is unsat. Can you pinch him with your fingers and throw him out? Because I'm not doing that.
What?
Pinch him and throw him out. I'm not gonna touch the bug though.
Why not?
Because it's disgusting.
He's a juicy one.
Oh, he's so chunky. Throw him into the field. Jerk. We didn't kill him, for all you bug people. We didn't kill him. Okay, so let's talk about how we did this. So let me back up. We bought plugs. We like Farmers.
By the way, everybody needs to know in our May tour, I predicted these would be early.
Oh, I hope you weren't going to mention this.
And I am correct.
We were arguing. I said end of June.
Everything has largely been 2 weeks early this year.
I said end of June because that's what happened last year. Eric was right, and we started in like mid-June. Everything is 2 weeks early this year.
I guess the Echo, which we grew last year, is still basically the end of June.
True. Misty blue was what you predicted. So but they were both right. Look at that.
But I do remember last year, I remember this tip.
Tell me.
The first bud should be cut.
Oh yeah, we can talk about that. Well, let me just like walk through the whole.
They're doing it here basically.
Oh, well, I'll do it live, but.
Do it live.
No, but I want to start from the very beginning so we don't cross. So
let me show my knowledge, internet.
Okay. Farmer Eric, go.
Yeah, if you notice, this flower, this first one, this biggest one, is coming from a much lower branching point. And that's what they usually do. They shoot one up really early, and then they send up the rest of the cluster. So technically, we should probably take this one off.
We should.
You know, at some point, these flowers.
I just snap it here.
I'm trying to with my fingers and keep a steady. Oh, you take I take like the whole branch. I don't want that.
No, I take the bud. Well, I usually trim it with my trimmers because I can't cut it.
This is where its energy goes. They all are like this. They'll put this early bloom out, this one lone beauty, and they make you think like, we're ready to go. They all do it. They all have a low.
Not ready.
They all have a low first bloom, but you want to get them all the way up here.
Look at you.
But they start overwhelming, and so you just kind of.
And then you forget. Well, here's a great example of when you forget. It just dies first, and then it looks ugly. So like I didn't pinch this one.
Oh yeah.
So the other ones do open, but it's just cleaner and a prettier stem to have dealt with it prior instead of letting it rot. Okay, let's start from the beginning though. Can I stand in the shade because I'm sweating?
Just don't trip on the.
Okay, I'm just sweating. I'm gonna stand a little bit in the shade.
Gotta mow everything.
I know. So let's start from the beginning. We like to buy plugs from Farmer Bailey. Sometimes if he sells out too quickly, we will go to Ball and buy plugs. But I bought these plugs sometime in the fall, picked delivery at the end of March. Next year, I'm going to plant a little bit earlier because I'll just share a lesson learned as we talk about it. When I had them delivered at the end of March, we had tulips blooming, ranunculus starting, Easter weekend, 6 trays of Lizzies. Not exactly first trimester, so not exactly the best timing for everything. And because Lizzies are fairly cold tolerant, I think I read down to like 28, although I'd never risk it quite that low. They like the cold in the beginning, so I can plant them earlier. And so my plan next year is to have the plugs be delivered the first or second week of March before our selling season has started. So I know I can get them planted and focus on that dedicated labor and then move on to when the season and the sales start and not just have it like all on top of each other, because that was a little much. I remember that day distinctly. It was like a 10-hour work day. It was awful. So not going to do that again. Going to plant them earlier. When we got the plugs, we dipped them in root shield. I think we actually have a video, some B-roll of this.
Oh yeah.
Remember the funky water? Root shield, it's kind of, it is expensive. And so you guys met Allison, my flower farming friend. You should watch her videos. We have 2 interviews with Allison. She grows about 45 minutes away, and the bag of root shield that you buy is very perishable. It only lasts like 9 months or so. So it's not something that like you can buy and use over the course of a couple seasons. So Allison and I went in together and we split it. And so we literally just split the bag, put it in, we weighed it to make it fair because they're expensive. She took 2 ounces with her, I took 2 ounces, and we used, I think, 1 ounce for Lizzie's and 1 ounce for the ranunculus. And so it's a...
It was not 1 ounce. It was a 16-ounce bag, 1 pound. You split it 8 and 8 ounces.
Okay, well, the math.
4 ounces for each of those
the
products.
math police are not coming.
The math police is right here, filming.
I've been pulled I've been pulled over.
Math alert. To 1 ounce. She took 1 ounce.
Okay, you know what? Have you cited me?
I did. You get a ticket.
Okay, I've paid my ticket.
Okay.
Now, the root shield, you can look it up. It's basically like a living bacteria thing that coats the roots and the plant to help with I think it's like, I can't pronounce things, and the internet always gets so mad at me with pronouncing things. It's like Fuselium or something like that. And it's just it's a fungal wilt that they can get. They can get really funky. It really damages them. It can be soil borne, all of that. But if you dip it in the root shield, which a lot of the bigger farmers do, it protects them. We did it and had no problem. So I'm just going to keep up with that process. And you mix it. It's like a powder. You mix it with the water concentrate. You literally take the plug tray, dunk it in, and fully saturate it, pull it out, and plant the plugs.
Yeah, if you watch our ranunculus planting video from like November last year, you'll see us soaking the corms.
We soak the corms in it too.
You kept them all spaced and separated by their type so that you could plant them, you know, in blocks. And then I think we just briefly showed you doing it on...
It was like a B-roll edit you did.
At the beginning of a clip.
Funky water, and people were probably like,
I think it was like our Easter video or something, or our opening day. It may have been the opening day.
I think it was the opening day montage you did. Yeah. But anyways, we dunked it, and I mean, obviously you'd kind of have to do a comparison of like not doing it and doing it, but I didn't want to risk it because they're really expensive. So we decided to go with the safest bet, and so we did the root shield thing. If you're not at a big scale, I would find other friends or other flower farmers in your area, and maybe you could do the split thing, because I think it's like $100+ a bag, and we don't grow enough to use that whole bag. So it's like I only needed $50 worth or $60 worth sort of thing. So we'll do that again next year for ranunculus, anemones, and Lizzies that are prone to that sort of like fungal issue that can get going, the root rot and that sort of thing. So we dipped it, we planted them, we watered them in really well, and then they just kind of sit there for a while. They grow very slowly. I think I read they were part of the succulent family actually, which is interesting, which kind of describes or like makes sense with their leaf structure a bit. But they grow pretty slowly. When they get tall enough, we add netting. Netting is non-negotiable. The blooms are too heavy, the stems are too thin. You need to put netting. You can't just corral them. It's like a snapdragon. It's going to be a problem. So you just...
Well, here in Oklahoma, it's where things are crazy.
Yeah, with
Not
the
a
wind.
Single forecaster last night predicted an 80-mile-per-hour storm. I'll put a picture up of the storm that came in.
You guys, nothing. We went to bed like nothing's gonna happen, and then at 3 a.m., wha-bam!
Yeah, we
and
didn't
the
sleep.
Power went out, and so we would have closed the tunnel had it been forecasted. So things are a little like listing a bit that I noticed. But we put the netting on. Then the next step is what Eric just showed you. When the first bud opens, you can just go through with your finger or snippers and just snip off that first bud. That encourages the other blooms to open. It prevents that rot that I showed you, because clearly that bloom is so much older, so it's just gonna die on the plant if you don't do it, and you're gonna have to cut it off eventually to sell it. You do that step, and then it's time to harvest. This is where you can kind of get a bit subjective, but typically the advice is you harvest when 3 or more blooms are open. The blooms last a very long time and they continue to open up. But
what is the length of time for a Lizzie? Why are they so desired?
Yeah, so I keep calling them in our marketing like the summer ranunculus, because they last like 2 weeks for customers, which for just like a ranunculus, for such a beautiful flower and such an expensive flower, it's pretty awesome, because you think of like a rose, a peony, a dahlia, those are expensive, but they don't last long. They're not known to last long. They're not known to hold well in well, ranunculus hold decently well in a cooler, but you know what I mean? You get a ton of bang for your buck as a customer, I think, with Lizzie's, and it's great for marketing to talk about base life and, you know, getting the value for what they pay, and then they get to experience it, and by the time they're buying bouquets from us the next week, they're telling me, my Lizzie's are still alive from last week. You know, that sort of thing. So like I was saying, 3 buds or more is when you want to cut them, because then sometimes if you cut them too early, all of the buds might not open up all the way, and then that's just not giving your customers the most excitement to enjoy. So pretty much I need to harvest like most of these Echo, but I didn't want to do it until we film this video, because I want to show you how beautiful they are. But like this one is totally ready. There's 4 buds open. There's a chance that maybe another one might open or 2, but they get 4 blooms to enjoy, and this is gonna last them a really long time. So probably tomorrow.
How long can they last storing in our new cooler?
Our new cooler, that's right, you guys.
We should do a quick cooler.
Well, yeah, well, let's end with the cooler. That's a good idea, because it's filled with Lizzies right now. So this was actually Eric's pressure when we saw that the Lizzies were not going to do the group 1 and 2 thing, and they all were coming on really fast. This was like Eric's pressure deadline to get that cooler done, because Lizzies can store in a cooler and they store really well. Now, I will say this is not from direct experience, because this is our first time having a proper cooler and me pushing the limits, but I posted in a Facebook group that I really trust, not just like a big giant public one, but one of more experienced growers, asking them how long you can hold Lizzies. And on average, they all said 2 to 3 weeks if you give them fresh weekly water and you put them in a florist holding solution. And we use Crystal number 2 holding solution, and I can give them fresh water each week. So I'm going to probably aim for about 2 weeks, and that's how I'm gonna stretch that Voyage and Blue Rim I showed you into July with harvesting and holding them. And then our goal with our quality for our farm is always to get at least a week for our customers. And I think with Lizzie's, they'll easily hit that week, probably closer to 10 plus days, even with holding them that long.
Are these the tallest outside of those big snaps?
What do you mean? Like in the
just in
tunnel?
terms of their overall height, because there's no way you can store these in a fridge.
That's a good point. I mean, we could in the one fridge.
Like
the OG fridge, the cottage fridge we could. We couldn't in the borrowed
so
fridge.
Tall.
I know. And then you'd have to cut the stem, and then that's just
You can't lean them on their side.
Yeah, they're not like tulips. So. Eric needed to get the cooler done, and he did it, and it's incredible. And now, you guys, I just harvest as much as I want, and I just slide the buckets into the cooler, and it's amazing. So that's the storage. You can hold them for a couple weeks, fresh water, holding solution, and then obviously when you pull them back out, you're giving them a fresh cut to go in the bouquets. I've tried to tell our customers, kind of like you would with a gladiola, if a bloom fades, just snap it off, and the other ones, you know, will keep opening and they'll stay happy. You don't have to toss the whole stem, sort of thing.
You keep looking back at the beautiful.
Well, I know, because I'm at the front. I'm not like.
But you're not losing your train of thought like you did with the ranunculus, so they're not quite.
Oh no, you're right.
I stared at a flower and I lost.
I completely zoned out. So I put notes down, so I'm just looking at them right now to make sure I didn't forget any of the like obvious Lizzie 101 thing. One thing I will say is compared to snapdragons and ranunculus, I have found Lizzie's to be really low in the bug pressure department. When we are spraying our field for summer bugs, Eric will use the container and spray the Lizzie's, but so far I have not noticed that the bugs are very attracted to them. There was like 1 or 2 stems I saw had some aphids, and I quickly pulled it and tossed it out of the tunnel. I didn't even like want to mess with it. It was the solution we also talked about doing in the future with ranunculus, is just culling quickly and not leaving them in. But this is another reason why I love Lizzie's. Summer bug pressure is really high. Bug pressure in a tunnel can be very high. And if you can find a flower that isn't like a magnet for a lot of these bugs, that is a huge winner. So the fact that I'm growing white flowers in Oklahoma in the summer in a tunnel, and they're literally blemish free, like I could sell these for a bridal bouquet, that's crazy. That shows you how bug non-happy they are, anti-bug that they are. So that
non-happy.
Bug non-happy.
Bug not happy.
Bug not happy flower.
That caterpillar was very happy.
Well, Juicy Boy was happy.
He was just like, feed me.
Ruffly Voyage. I know, it's funny, he picked Voyage, the double ruffle. So that is the how we grow 101. I will say that we price our Lizzie's at $3 retail. That's probably a little bit on the lower end because in our area wholesale is $2, and so typically you mark up to $4. So maybe I'm breaking rules and I shouldn't, but our ranunculus are at $3. That's still a profitable number for us, especially with Echo, where we're getting multiple cuts per plant. I think goes a really long way. The summer is not as insanely gangbusters as the spring is, and so I also do want to sell these stems and give them a nice big full summer bouquet. So I like the $3 price point right now, but perhaps I'll change my mind in the future, but I like the $3 price point. So that's what they've been in our formulas. And then the last thing I put on the list is what I will grow next year. And as of now, I will 100% grow Echo again, probably the mix, because it's just a really lovely mix. I love all the colors. I will probably do, Eric really likes the ABC Rose. That's the pink one. And then I think I'm just gonna look at the catalog at the Voyage series and see if they have maybe some darker colors in that ruffly form, because with our heat and the fact that it's more of a blush, it's just very pale. And I like punchier colors in our retail, and our customers do as well. So I think I'll maybe try to get something that's not so champagne-y. But that's what we're gonna grow again next year. As of now, I think we will grow the same amount. I will do 6 trays. I don't really think we will increase because we just have so many, and I don't want to grow more and have them unsold because of the plug cost and how long they take to grow and all of that. I really don't want to have a ton of extra. So I like this amount.
Next year they'll be like 2 weeks late.
Oh my gosh, you guys, it will. I'll be like, oh, we'll be done with Lizzie's by 4th of July. And then it'll be like, the first Lizzie is 4th of July. I can't even. Don't do that to us, you guys. But that's Lisianthus. Let me end here before we go give you a little cooler spiel. Lizzie's are beautiful. Lizzie's are great. I love them on our farm. If you're a year 1 farmer, a year 2 farmer, please don't feel pressure to have to grow Lizzie's if your customer base isn't built up there yet, because you do need to charge that $3 amount or even more to make them profitable, especially if you're starting them from seed and they have an even higher labor cost for you because you had to start them in January. I think Lizzie's can be a bit like dahlias or ranunculus, where you feel like you have to grow them to be a real flower farmer type thing. And I think if you're still building your customer base, you're still building your growing skills, don't feel the like pressured FOMO to add it if you're just not ready yet. So I have to add that disclaimer because I do think sometimes people feel very pressured to have
Don't beat those little flowers.
I know, I'm sorry I punched you. I do think some newer growers can feel a certain pressure to have a certain grow list, and don't do that, because more often than not that ends in loss and stress and money loss and all of that, and that's just a bummer. So maybe add it to like a dream list if you're not there yet, a wish list, or maybe like a trial patch where you do a couple from seed.
Always just trial.
Yeah,
Get some fall.
not like 125 plug tray sort of thing. But if you're ready for them, A+.
You've actually got 5 varieties.
That's what I said, 5 colors.
Because I didn't even notice.
I think I said 5.
These little pink tips.
Yeah, there's not as many of them, but when you see them, they're like, ooh, that's beautiful.
Little pink tips
Yeah,
here.
look at this one. I mean, look at that shape. My goodness. Look how big this one is. It's like the size of my palm.
That's big.
And it's white in Oklahoma.
And then you've got like this lighter purple.
Yeah, so that's lavender. You can buy that on its own. You can buy lavender. Oh, and I will say this
But
because
that rose color down there is just the coolest red in my opinion.
it's like a deeper mauve. I will say this because
mauve.
I am proud of this. If you go on Farmer Bailey's, you buy plugs from him and you click on Echo, that's our picture. Because he didn't have a very good Echo mix picture, and I sent it to him and I was like, hey, Farmer Bailey, like if you want to use this picture. And he was like, this is awesome, so cool. And he put the picture up and he credited us, and it was really neat that he did that. And so it's our picture of our Echo Lizzies that we grew. It's fun.
And these are a foot taller this year.
Oh yeah, I should like email him back and be like, I've got better Echoes for you.
Yeah.
But
when you get a bunch of these, you should do that.
Yeah, I should do like a holding bunch shot because he likes those. That picture's in our bucket.
Right.
That'd be fun. But let's finish up in the cooler so I can just brag on Eric and the awesome space he built me.
Yes, please.
We'll do a separate cooler build video. Eric filmed a lot of the pieces to make it a little bit more.
Maybe.
Maybe
It's
it'll
actually really hard to do those kind of videos in any entertaining way.
But we filmed it, so
filmed
we'll
some
see.
stuff.
But I won't give you like every single detail spec. But we bought a pre-done shed. It's 8x8, and then Eric, with CoolBot directions, insulated the inside, and we set up a CoolBot system, and so it's an 8x8 walk-in cooler, but it matches the color of our cottage. It's right here in our gravel area with our hose and where I have our plug trays and do all of our working stuff. It's just right here, but it also looks cute from the road because everything's visible, so I couldn't do like a converted trailer or something like it. Just wouldn't fit with how visible we are to everyone. But I have to step up to get into it. But, oh, you left the light on.
No, it turns on automatically.
Oh, I've been turning it off.
Ooh, it's cold in here.
Oh my gosh, are we both gonna come in here and be cold? Eek! So we have it set between 30.
Well, it's just set to 40.
It's set to 40, but the range is like 41 to 36. Like it's 36 in here right now. But we just did all of our subscriptions today, so it's fairly empty. I pulled 4 buckets out for subscriptions. We have 5 buckets in here of Status, Marigold, lots of Lizzies, and then the last of our Sunnies are in here. But you guys, all I can picture is getting the big delivery of all of our tulips in crates and just like sliding them in here to pre-chill them and not worrying about Tetrising them all over our Facebook fridges. Or in the spring when we have so many flowers, I can just like put them in one space. I'm so excited about this. And Eric did a great job insulating it, making it look nice.
Yeah, there'll be shelves.
I'm a little cold. Yeah, we're gonna put some metal racks in here so we can also use vertical space. I just don't need that as much now in the summer. But when it's spring season, we definitely will go vertical as well as the floors. But now that we're at the volume we are and we've graduated past the Facebook Market fridge, this is just, it's gonna add to efficiency, which adds to profitability because your labor gets a little bit less. But I'm very thankful for this space and how hard Eric worked to get it done so quickly. That is our Lisianthus 101. It's obviously not every single detail you could have of Lizzie's, but it's what we do, it's how we grow them. They're going wonderfully. They're gonna keep being on our farm. I'm really thankful for them. They're our primo summer flower, especially because we don't do dahlias. And they are awesome. They're gonna go in our Saturday bouquets, and I'm hoping to have them for the next 3 weeks, maybe even 4 weeks, if we get particularly lucky with that Voyage that's taking a little bit longer to mature. But I hope this was helpful, and maybe you'll add Lizzie's, or maybe you'll just think like, no, that's a little bit too much. I'm gonna hold off for a year or 2 and put them on our wish list. But Lizzie's get a double thumbs up, profitability, beautiful flower from us.